Under a filthy blanket, she whispered with split lips, "Please don't touch me." One step closer, and the rancher realized this wasn't a dying ghost. It was a hunted soul. He would have ridden on if the sorrel hadn't shied. The gelding stiffened, ears pinned. Jonah Mercer scanned the fence and saw a hump of rags where wind leaves nothing. He swung down. Slow hands keep trouble asleep. The smell met him first. Sweat, old blood, rot. He opened his coat with one hand and with the other lifted a corner of blanket. A young face stared back, lips split, one eye near shut. She clutched the cloth like armor. Her voice rasped, "Please, don't touch me." "All right," he said. He slid his coat beneath her without skin to skin, rolled the blanket's edge under and eased the bundle up. Light as rails, her head found his chest and stayed, not trusting, only done with fighting. He mounted with her cradled and turned for dry laurel. The horse took the weight and moved. Home was board scarred by time and a pump that still gave. He opened the back room that once smelled of soap. Dust had taken over. He set her on the bed, blanket around her. He lit a lamp and left it by the door, steady and low. "There's water," he said, "food on the table." Hands quiet, eyes kind. Then he stepped back and pulled the door until it clicked. In the main room he warmed a pan and sat where he could hear her breathe. Night came, only wood ticking in the stove. He slept in the chair. Gray light washed the floor at dawn. The plate sat untouched. The water fell to the air, not to her. He looked in. She lay curled, eyes on the ceiling as if it might drop. He tipped his head and eased away. Morning work was the same. Check wire, hinges, mend a gate. Keep the house in sight. At noon he scrambled eggs and left the pan covered. No questions. Names could wait. Stories could wait longer. By evening a bite was gone and the cup sat lower. He took a harmonica and tried an old tune. A few low notes, nothing fancy. Her breathing slowed. A twitch worked at her jaw. He stopped and let the quiet hold. Next day he found sign by the cottonwoods. Boot marks, not his. Wire cut clean with good tool. On the corner post, someone had nailed a black bird by its feet. He took it down, wrapped it in sackcloth, and buried it by the windmill. He marked the heel in his head. The left wore thin and pocketed a stub of wire that still smelled of bite. He told the girl nothing. He didn't want fear to pull up a chair. That night he slid her bed nearer the stove and set a chair by the door with the rifle across his knees. Sleep came and went like a stray dog. Near dawn she spoke, the words clear though small. "They were hunting animals," she said. "They caught me instead." He fed the fire. "I hear you." She said no more. He did not press. He poured coffee and set a cup where the light fell. He left the door ajar so she could see the kitchen, the pump, the skillet hanging. A home is a map. Folks learn its corners before they can rest. By noon he saddled and rode into Ash Hollow. He told Sheriff Amos Trask what he had: wire stub, the cut, the heel, the bird, the words she'd given. Trask nodded once. Law moves like a wagon heavy with tools, but it moves. He promised to come with Doc Ruth and put eyes on the trails. Jonah bought candles, soap, flour. At the mercantile, a dish of silver buttons sat by the till, stamped for cattlemen's vests. He thought nothing of it. He paid and rode home. The sun slid off the ridgeline. Dusk warmed the windows when he got back. The lamp burned steady. The plate was empty. He knocked once on the doorframe and heard at last a word with a little life in it. "All right," she said from within. "All right." He kept the lamp low, a small line between night and worry. Jonah drank coffee on the steps where he could watch the back room door and the pump handle. She slept at last. He set rules. No questions. No hands unless she asked. Food within reach. Rifle near but out of sight. He shaved at the basin and listened to the stove tick. Mid-morning he warmed broth and slid it through the crack. "Drink what you can." He lifted the pump latch twice so it clicked, then stepped back and let the sound explain the rest. The cup came back light. By noon he read the wire stub again, the cutter's bite bright on the steel. He folded it in paper and wrote, "North fence, cottonwoods, 3 heel prints, left worn thin." He tucked it under a flat iron, a promise to the law and to himself. He walked the south line. When he returned, she had set the lamp on the floor, closer to the bed like a fence against dark. Her mouth was less tight. The blanket rode her shoulders like a coat that almost fit. He placed eggs and biscuit on the table and left. Minutes later, the fork scraped china. At dusk, he turned the harmonica in his hand and blew a few low notes he'd learned on the rails. Not a song so much as a path. She settled. He stopped before the tune turned pretty. A horse came up the lane. Sheriff Amos Trask swung down. Doc Ruth McKenna rode in behind with a satchel. "Evening," Trask said. "I sent word," Jonah answered. Doc Ruth looked toward the back. "Is she willing to be seen?" "Her call," he said. "Leave what's needed." Ruth set salve, bandage, a slip, water, broth, no company. "I'll come when she asks." Trask walked Jonah to the gate. They reined in on the ridge. Same thin left heel. "I wrote it up," Jonah said, handing a packet. Trask tucked it away. "Keep your porch light," Trask said. "I'll ride at first light." They left without stepping inside. Jonah knocked on the frame. "Medicine's on the table. Use what you like." No answer, but the latch slid. After a time, he heard water pour. The pump sighed. Quiet settled. Night drew close. He rested the rifle across his knees. Near midnight, he woke to the soft drag of blanket on boards. She had edged the bed nearer the stove and built herself a small fort of light. "Door open or shut?" he asked. "A crack," she said. "All right." Toward dawn, she spoke again, steadier. "I can manage the pump. You can stay on the porch." "That'll do." Sun came thin. He brewed coffee, fried a heel of bread, and left a second plate under a cloth. Outside, he oiled hinges, checked the bar, and stretched new wire at the north post. He looked toward Ash Hollow and thought of silver buttons at the mercantile. A picture was forming. Late morning, she stood in the doorway, blanket close, hair combed back with her own hands. Her bruises were changing. He could read the road she'd been made to walk without asking. She held out his coat, the one he'd used to lift her. "You keep it," he said. She studied him, then folded it over her arm like a promise saved. "All right," she said. He poured a cup and set it on the sill. "Chair's yours," he said. "Or the bed." She stayed standing, listening to a far sound only she could hear. She drank, made a face at the bitter, and drank again. "You play that little horn?" "Harmonica. Tonight, if you say." "I say," she whispered and went back inside without turning her back, more habit than fear. He eased the door to and made a short list. Supplies, repairs, rounds to roll, names to remember. He added one plain line at the bottom. "Stay." Enough. Morning came plain. Jonah checked coffee, rifle, and a door left a finger's width. She slept behind it too. He stepped out to read the ground. The north fence spoke first. Fresh wire ends shone, cut clean by sharp jaws. 3 sets of boot marks crossed the draw. One left heel skidded thin. He measured with his hand and noted the spacing in a small book from rail days. He wrapped a shaving of wire in paper and wrote the hour. By the cottonwoods, a man had stood long, the dirt pressed by a rider easing a bad knee. His shoulders tightened. The crow hung from the corner post, twine at its feet. He cut it down, wrapped it in burlap, and buried it by the windmill. Under the porch, the old dog, Buck, came out stiff. He nosed Jonah's fingers, wagged once, then braced. Foam worked at his lip. Jonah held his head and waited the spell out. Buck staggered to shade and lay with his nose on his paws. Jonah slid a pan of clean water close. He walked the yard slow. On the kitchen sill, a smear of something sweet had dried. He touched it with a matchstick and smelled it, bitter under sugar. He packed the stick in paper like the wire. Someone had meant the dog to drink. He wrote it all. North fence cut, 3 riders, thin left heel, bird on post, sweet bait. The page went in his inner pocket with the wire. Inside, she stood by the pump with his coat folded over one arm, hair damp. The bruises had yellow at the edges. She watched him steady. "You were out there long," she said. "Long enough," he said. "How's your strength?" "Enough to stand." Her eyes went to Buck. "What's wrong with him?" "Sugar bait. He'll mend." "Tell me if you smell that in the room." She nodded. "I won't be touched," she said, more to herself than to him. "But I can pull a trigger." "I know you can." He scalded a jar, dropped the matchstick inside with a note, and tied the neck. He set it with the wire packet. Evidence had weight and quiet. By noon, Sheriff Amos Trask rode up with Doc Ruth and a sack from Millie. Doc set her bag on the table. "Can I look you over?" Doc asked. "Only what's needed," the girl said. "No talk." "Fair enough." Doc's hands moved sure and respectful. Salve, bandage, a short slip, water, broth, rest. Jonah handed Trask the bundle. "North line," he said. "Bait on the sill, 3 riders, thin left heel." Trask sniffed the jar. "Careful work. We'll log it." He looked at Buck. "Mean trick." "Means their trade," Jonah said. "I'll put word along the line," Trask said. "Keep your light. If they come soft, we'll hear them in the dirt before the dark." They left. The place felt like a church after folks file out, emptier, yet not alone. The girl touched the harmonica on the shelf, then set it back. "Do you have a name I can use?" Jonah asked. She weighed it, then said, "Use Lila. It will do." "All right, Lila." She looked toward the ridge. "They stand where the scrub dips. They're patient. They think we'll tire." "Maybe," he said. "They don't know how long a fenceman can sit." At dusk, he moved her bed nearer the stove and set a second chair by the door. He placed the shotgun where she could reach without crossing open room. "If the latch turns," he said, "you take the one who crosses the sill. I'll handle the yard." "I won't miss." He checked the window latch, oiled a hinge, and sat. He played 2 low lines on the harmonica and stopped before the notes grew tender. Buck sighed. The stove ticked. Dark settled over the house. He did not pray. He watched. Sometimes watching is prayer enough. By noon, the house had a shape again. The bed sat closer to the stove, the shotgun within reach, the lamp a steady flame. Lila watched the doorway without shrinking. "I'll ride to Ash Hollow," he said. "Send wires, bring what we need." "Go, leave the door a crack. I can brace if the latch turns." "Show me." She stepped to the sill, blanket on her shoulders, feet set, left forward, stock snug. She dry-clicked once, eased the hammer down. "I won't waste a shell." "You won't." He left a tin of shells and a slip with 3 lines. "Here boots, call my name. Latch turns, aim center. Glass breaks, drop and fire low." He saddled up. At the telegraph office, Millie Sage read his packet, the wire stub, the sweet bait, the times, and tapped a short reply from Sheriff Amos Trask. "Law moving. Hold your porch light. Expect rider at dusk." She sent his wire to Trask and the North Road deputy. "3 riders?" she asked. "Trade off the ridge," he said. "Left heel thin on one, fence cut clean." Millie's jaw squared. "Some outfits think anything that moves wears their brand. I'll watch the board." He bought coffee, salt, lamp wicks, gun grease. On the boardwalk, he met Fox running. "You seen them?" Jonah asked. 3, Fox said. "Ride light. One favors his left. Mule sign west. Wire cut fast." He tipped his chin. I'll smoke if they spill from the draw. Doc Ruth hailed him and passed a parcel, salve, clean linen, a vial for sleep. Consent first, she said. Let her speak when she wants. I hear you. He rode home steady. Near the lane he found fresh sign where a horse had stood. 2 sets of prints and the thin left heel again by the cottonwoods. At the porch he set gear inside and knocked. It's me. All right. He put the parcel, coffee, and shells on the table. Sheriff's coming at dusk. Fox is watching. He held up the slip. She nodded like a soldier reading orders. I'll show you a door trick, he said. He wedged a cedar shim under the hinge. If hands shove, it stops here. Whoever pushes shows a shoulder first. That's your mark. She tested her stance, then met his eyes. No touching. No touching, he said. He trimmed the wick, checked the rifle. They ate quiet. She took half a biscuit, then the rest. What's it cost to send a wire, she asked. $1 if long, less if short. Then make it short. To who? To me. She pointed to the shelf. Right, I am here. The door is a crack. The lamp is steady. He wrote it and set it where she could see when the room went tight. Dusk leaned on the windows. Jonah lit the porch lantern and a second lamp low by her bed. Play 1 line, she said. He did. 6 notes, low and plain, and stopped before memory took more than it gave. Hoofbeats came up soft. Sheriff Trask rode in, swung down, tied off. He stood with his hat in his hands. Evening, he said. Evening? I'll put a man on the far ridge, Trask said. Deputy Briggs is circling the north road. If anyone comes to talk, keep them on the porch. Don't yield the line. We won't. His eyes went to the lamp. Hold that flame. It'll hold. When he rode off, night settled. Jonah barred the door and moved his chair to the hinge side. Lila lay with her eyes open, the shotgun near but not touching her hand. Sleep if you can, he said. I will when it listens. He listened too. The house spoke in ticks and breath. Their cards were on the table now, face up for whoever cared to read them. If trouble wanted a seat, it would have to take the porch first. The night held its breath on the porch. Dawn came thin. The lamp held steady. Jonah sat at the hinge side with the rifle across his knees. Lila faced the door with the shotgun near but not touching her hand. Buck slept by the stove. Hoofbeats eased up the lane. 1 rider took the porch. 2 held back by the cottonwoods. Jonah set the cedar shim so the door would open to a stop. A knuckle tapped, no greeting, only a probe. He moved the latch and left a crack. A man in a low hat stood there, kerchief high, one hand riding his belt as if it belonged there. State your need, Jonah said. Run off from Var packing, the man said. We got a writ to take her back. No one crosses my sill, Jonah said. Pass the paper. The sheet slid through, date wrong. Seal smeared. Clerk's hand, not any hand in Sun Mesa. This is paint on rotten wood, Jonah said. Her mark's on it somewhere, the man said. She made no mark here, Jonah said. Step back. The man shifted, thin left heel. He thumbed a bright silver button stamped CV and let it flash like a badge. The second rider scuffed the plank. Lila whispered, Shoulder in the gap puts the heart near the jam. I know, Jonah said. Hold your fire. Open up, the man said. We'll keep it clean. I keep it clean from here, Jonah said. He pushed the paper out, then pinned it with his boot. Hat off if you want to talk to a home. Pride fought him. He lifted the hat. A button clicked loose, skittered across the plank, and fell through the crack. It rang at Jonah's boot. You dropped sign, Jonah said. He nudged it to the wall with the rifle tip. Now step off my porch. We'll be back, the man said, when light favors us. Bring a clerk I can name, Jonah said, or bring a coffin for your lies. He shut to a crack. and set the bar. He breathed once, shook out his hands, and picked up the button with a spoon. It went into a glass jar. He wiped the jar clean and wrote in his book, "Porch test at sunup. 3 riders. Leader favors left. Writ false. CV button recovered." Lila sat up. "You did not touch him." "No need," he said. "He told us what we needed." "Var?" she said. "Var," he answered. By mid-morning, Fox running slipped from the cottonwoods. 3 horses, he said. 1 mule north with packs. Dust points to Cedar Ford. "Var's way station," Jonah said. Sheriff Trask rode in at noon with Deputy Briggs hanging back. Trask read the writ, grunted, and touched the smear with a thumb. "Not ours." He turned the button. "Brand mark. Useful." He sealed both in envelopes and signed across the flaps. He handed Jonah a copy. "Chain of custody," he said. "Keep yours clean." "Any rounds fired?" he asked. "No, words only," Jonah said. "Porch keeps men honest," Trask said. "But to hold Var we'll need more than shine and paper, ledger, courier, a mistake." "We'll find one," Jonah said. Briggs scratched his jaw and stared at the ridge. "North Road is clear," he said fast. Fox watched the dust and said nothing. Trask settled his hat. "Hold your porch light tonight," he said. "If they press, let the door do the work. We'll be close." They rode off. The yard felt wider. Lila reset her feet where the shim would stop the shove. Jonah cleaned the pot and set the tin with the day's sign on the shelf. He placed his book beside it and underlined CV. "Play," she said. "Not long." He played 6 low notes and folded the tune before memory took more than it gave. The house breathed. Trouble had touched the porch and left a calling card. Law had signed for it. The day turned toward something firm. The lamp held. The door set. They waited. Morning held steady. Jonah kept the lamp trimmed and the shim under the hinge. The CV button sat sealed in a jar beside his notes. Lila moved easy for the first time, not fast, just sure of her feet. He set coffee on the sill and a biscuit split and buttered. "You eat first," he said. She took the smaller half. "You ever need that back?" She meant the coat on the chair. "It's yours till you say otherwise." "Then we trade. I'll do the skillet. You keep the door." She worked the pan like one who'd cooked in tight rooms. Cornmeal, salt, lard. When the grease sang, she poured. "I can work," she said, "but I don't do touch." "You won't be asked." "Name's Lila Hart. That'll hold." "Jonah Mercer," he said. He opened the railman's book and wrote, "Resident declares Lila Hart." He set the book on the false writ copy. After breakfast, she washed plates and stood at the door with the shotgun. "Show me the push again." He wedged the cedar shim. "They hit here." Door stops. "Shoulder shows first." She set her feet, shouldered the gun, sighted the jam. "If the glass breaks, drop, fire low." "Teacher." "Old hand." He walked the north line and saw where new dust filled old cuts. Someone had checked his work and left quick. He marked the spot and planted a short stake to see if hands moved it by night. Back at the house, Lila had cleaned the shelf, raised the lamp on a folded cloth, and pulled a box from under the bed. "Found this." A tin of shells and a sewing kit. "Keep the thread," he said. "I'll log the shells." He counted, wrote the number, and sealed the tin. "We run light. 1 shot, 1 story." She tried a dry mount and eased the hammer down. "Tell me the town." "Ash Hollow," he said. "Store, livery, wire office where Millie sits, a church that leaks, a judge who writes straight when watched." "Someone should watch." "Trask does. Fox running more." Buck rose and took water, then set his head on her boot. She stiffened, then let him be. After a while, she touched his ear with 2 fingers. At noon, Jonah played a short, low run on the harmonica. Lila leaned against the jamb and let the notes pass. "Good," she said. "Short is best." They ate in quiet and made a list. Lamp wicks, soda, flour, a saw file. She added, "Shells, only if honest. Honest costs more," he said. "Cheap costs blood." "All right." He tucked the list with the book. In the afternoon, she stepped onto the porch. She didn't ask permission. She looked to the ridge and squared her shoulders. "Do they always come back?" she asked. "Men who wear lies like a vest?" "Usually." "What do you do with a man like that?" "Let the law see him first. If he forces his way, you do what you must and keep it clean." "Clean," she said, testing the word. She gathered creek flowers and set them in a chipped cup. Near dusk, a rider brought Millie's note. "Hold lamp. Fox West Ridge. Watch for mule line." Jonah sent back, "Holding. Door a crack. Lamp steady." He showed Lila where the floorboard lifted near the hearth to hide the jar. "If I fall," he said, "you hand that to Trask or Millie, no one else." "I won't let it vanish." Night pressed, but it didn't own the room. Lila set the shotgun across her knees and fixed her eyes on the door. Jonah set the harmonica on the table like a promise kept for later. "You stay?" she asked. "No plea in it now, only a measure." "I stay," he said. "Then we're ready." They sat that way, 2 chairs, a lamp, a door with a crack of dark and clean paper, waiting for whatever the night chose to bring. The lamp held on. The moon was thin as a shaving. Jonah set the cedar shim and checked the bar. Lila sat crosswise to the door, blanket on her shoulders, shotgun braced. The lamp burned steady. Hoofbeats came careful, 3 sets. The floor said so before sight did. Jonah lifted the rifle and let breath settle. Lila rolled her shoulders. A knuckle ticked the plank. The latch tried and met the shim. The door opened an inch and stopped. "Evening," Jonah said. "Open up," the man answered. "Paper says she's ours." "You brought the same paper," Jonah said. "Still wrong." Weight pushed. The man's shoulder met the jamb where a heart runs near wood. "Lila," Jonah said low. She dropped and fired 1 clean round. The room jumped, then stilled. The man folded without a word. The door shoved back on him and stuck. Shouts in the yard. A second rider swung down, hand reaching. Jonah stepped from hinge shadow. The axe rose and fell, not to split, only to take fight from hands. Metal clattered. Jonah kicked his pistol into the dark. The third turned to run. Jonah let him make the corner and put a bullet through the thigh where meat is thick. The horse checked, and the man rolled, cursing but awake. "Hold still," Jonah said. "Use your head and you'll keep your leg." Silence returned in pieces. Buck rose, sniffed the gap, then laid down again. Sure house still belonged to them. Lila kept her cheek to the stock and watched the crack. Jonah bound the porchman with a strap and rolled him so air would come. He tied the second with harness leather and slid him to the wall. The wounded one he propped and wrapped above the hole. "You're alive because you quit," he said. "Stay that way." He lit the porch lantern and raised it once so the ridge could read. He set the axe aside and took up the rifle. Inside, Lila eased the hammer down and checked the second shell. "We kept it clean," she said. "We did," he said. "Drink water." She drank. "Do we send for Trask?" "He's close," Jonah said, and gave the lantern a swing. A horse trotted in. Sheriff Amos Trask came off the saddle with Fox running. "What have you?" Trask asked. 3, Jonah said. He pointed with the rifle barrel. 1 dead at the sill, 1 disarmed, 1 shot through the thigh. Trask knelt by the dead and checked the chest without moving more blanket than needed. "Door did the work," he said. He looked at Lila. "You fired?" She nodded once. He crossed the line. "Noted." Trask turned to the wounded man. "Name?" "Rook Daly," the fellow said. "Other one?" "Tuck Serrano," the seated man muttered. Trask wrote the time and had Jonah and Lila witness. He sealed the button jar and the false writ copy with his mark. "These ride with me." Fox set the wounded man on a travois and murmured to the horse until it stood steady. Trask tied the disarmed man to his horn, left the dead covered. "Wagon at first light," he said. "Hold the porch. If Var shows, let the law speak first." Jonah nodded. Lila broke the shotgun and rested it open on her arm. When the yard cleared, Jonah dropped the spent shell in a tin. He wrote the hour and plain words. Door stopped. One stepped in. Lila fired. I disabled two. Sheriff took charge. He slid the note under the flat iron. He sat. Lila eased into the other chair and watched the flame. After a breath, she said, "I thought I'd shake." "You did fine," he said. "Shakes come after. They don't change a thing." The lamp held. The door stayed to a crack. Outside, the moon kept to its small road. Inside, they kept to theirs, steady at the line. The county wagon took the lane with Sheriff Trask beside it, Fox running on the flank, Deputy Briggs behind. They loaded the dead and tied the other two. Doc Ruth rode in and paused. "Consent?" "Only what's needed," Lila said. Ruth's hands were steady. She read the bruise where the door checked the shove, the powder fog on the sill, the stock mark on Lila's shoulder. "One round at an intruder over the jam," she said. Fox said, "3 riders. A mule drifted west. They changed a shoe, but the left heel still runs thin. Trail points to Cedar Ford." "Var keeps a way station there," Trask said. Briggs spit. "Could be drifters. No call to stir a big man over poor sign." "Facts, not favors," Trask said. "Name, outfit," he told the prisoners. The unshot one stared past the rail. "Tuck Serrano, ride for pay." "And last night's pay?" Silence. The wounded man swallowed. "Rook Daily, Var packing." Briggs shrugged. "He'll say anything." "Or the first true thing," Trask said, writing slow. He sealed the jar with the CV button and the false writ, then handed Jonah a receipt. "Chain stays tight." Millie's boy loped in with a wire. Trask read and passed it. "Hold lamp stop Fox Westridge. Stop stationer at Cedar Ford bought new cutters yesterday." Jonah slid it into his book. Doc Ruth checked Buck's gums. "He'll keep." To Lila, "You choose who tells you're hurt." "I pick me," Lila said, "and the sheriff when it's time." Trask took her statement. The knock, the shove, the space she held. One shot. Fox lifted a shaving from a hoof scrape. "Fresh file," he said. "Same hand that cut your wire. Cedar Ford sells both." "We'll need ledger and a mouth that names the paymaster in public," Trask said. "That'll take time," Briggs muttered. "Law weighs more because it carries paper," Trask said. They hauled the men away. Quiet held. Jonah set the jar's twin under the hearth plank and wrote, "Wagon at dawn. Doc note, Fox, Cedar Ford, Rook named Var, Briggs slow, Millie wire. Evidence sealed." Lila stood with the shotgun open across her arm. "Do men stop when paper says so?" "Sometimes," Jonah said. "Sometimes paper's what a man like Var buys first." She looked at the lane. "He thinks folks come by the pound." "He's bought some," Jonah said. "Not all." Lila pushed her plate away, then finished it. "I won't be emptied twice." Jonah walked the north line. The stake he'd planted lay kicked flat. He said it again. At the window, a knife had worried the latch and failed. Fox slid from the cottonwoods. 2 rode in from the west, then out. Mule prints sure now. Cedar Ford fattens the trail. "When?" Jonah asked. "Nightfall," Fox said. A second wire came near evening. Cedar Ford bookkeeper. Drinks at Dime Saloon when sun low stop. He brags when he owes stopwatch for courier with green scarf. Jonah read it to Lila. "That's the mouth and the bag," she said. He checked the hinge shim and lifted the floorboard to show the envelope's place. "If I fall, you hand this to Trask or Millie. No one else." I won't let it vanish. Buck set his head on her boot and slept. She let him. Jonah tuned the harmonica, but set it back. Not yet, he said. After, Lila answered. They set cups, trimmed the wick, and watched the doors thin inch as if it were a road a fool might choose. Pieces lay on the table now, button, writ, wire stub, thin heel, 2 names, a saloon, a green scarf. Men who trade in breath think the dark is theirs. Let them. The lamp held. The door kept its inch. Greed would walk where light didn't blink. Okay. They left at sundown, Jonah and Fox running, with Lila on the porch and the lamp steady. He set the floorboard over the sealed jar and told her plain, "If I'm not home by first light, hand the envelope to Sheriff Trask or Millie, no one else." She nodded and slid the shotgun onto her lap. Fox cut west, reading the low places where mule prints turned soft. Cedar Ford sat by a shallow crossing, a pen, a tin roof shed, and a clerk's shack. Millie's wire said the bookkeeper bragged when he owed and drank when he bragged. They tied off in the cotton and went in afoot. The lantern burned to a nub. One hostler snored in a chair. Jonah felt the place the way a fenceman feels a gate out of square. He pointed to the tin roof, then to a window propped with a stick. Fox nodded. Jonah eased through the window with gloves on. The room smelled of tallow and pencil. A steel box sat under the desk, chained to a rail. He tested the lid. Locked. Under the rail, a spare key was wired with string. He used it. Inside lay a calf book wrapped in burlap. He unrolled it. Columns marked weight, brand, notes. The notes used animal talk for what was not stock at all. Under CV, a second hand had written initials and places, then a price per head. Dates matched the wire cuts at Dry Laurel. Receipts named Cedar Ford as custodian. Lamp oil like Millie's stained a corner. Outside, a boot scuffed. Fox breathed once through his teeth. A rider tied off and wrapped twice. Green scarf at his throat. The hostler jerked awake. "Bag for the boss. North Road's loose now." They went to the saloon together. Boots loud, talk louder. Jonah copied 3 pages into his railman's book, block letters neat, then tore one receipt loose and slid the rest back. He locked the box, wiped the rail, and set the window stick just so. Fox tapped once near the hinge. Time. They slipped along the pen. At the shed, the tin roof lifted where a nail was shy. Jonah set his weight and swung clear. The edge bit his shoulder. Heat ran under his shirt. He held a breath until the world stood still and slid down the post. Fox tied a bandana over the cut. They took the shallow stepping stones to leave no splash, and reached the willows. From the dime came a cheer when the clerk threw bad money after worse luck. Jonah raised the harmonica for a short run, 6 low notes their second sign. Fox answered with a call an owl might make. They rode only when brush hid the lane. The sky thinned toward a late moon. At the cottonwoods above Dry Laurel, Jonah's arm went heavy. Fox took the book and the receipt. Lila met them with the lamp high. She did not ask where he bled. She cleared the table. Doc Ruth's parcel waited. "Consent," she said. He nodded. She washed the cut, poured a finger of whiskey, and pressed clean cloth until red slowed. Fox laid out the railman's book, the single receipt, and the notes of time. Lila wrapped them in brown paper and tied with string. "Chain of custody," she said. Jonah signed his name and the hour. Fox signed under it. Lila wrote hers and slid the packet into the hearth space with the other sealed things. "Millie at first light," Jonah said. "Straight there," Fox answered. Jonah sat back, pale but steady. "Read one line." Lila opened the book. "CV," she read. "Initials, places, 3 heads short." "That's last night," he said. "We cost them 3. She set the book down. "Then make it count. Sleep. I'll hold the porch." He logged the hour, marked the Cedar Ford route, kept the tin shard as sign. Law moves slow, paper helps. Fox left at first light with the packet for Millie. Jonah slept an hour, then rose, shoulder stiff but holding. Lila had coffee hot. She set the book and the sealed envelope on the table. "Trask needs more than one page," Jonah said. "We'll fetch it." "You're not whole," she said. "I'm standing, that's enough." Sheriff Trask rode in near noon. Fox returned with Millie's wire. Courier rides green scarf at dusk with pay and codes. Stop route cuts through Box Canyon. "We take him clean," Trask said. "No hero work. Chain of custody. Witnesses. Briggs, hold the North Road." Deputy Briggs touched his brim. "North Road, yes, sir." Lila tied Jonah's bandage fresh. "You keep the porch," he said. "I'll keep the line. Bring back paper and a mouth." They rode light. Trask, Jonah, Fox. The canyon ran narrow, a bend where a mule must pick its way. Near dusk, a rider came, scarf green at the throat. A pack mule followed, bag slung low. "Hold there, hands high," Trask called from cover. The rider flinched, then reached for the horn. "Don't," Jonah said. "This can be talk or pain. Choose talk." The man froze and raised both hands. "Pike Morley," he said fast. "Courier." "Bags down," Trask said. "Step wide." Morley obeyed. Fox took the lead rope and backed the mule to flat ground. Jonah set the bags open where all could see. Inside were rolls of silver buttons stamped CV, a canvas wallet with receipts from Cedar Ford, and a bundle of telegraph slips tied with blue thread. Another packet held writ forms with blanks and a leaky ink bottle. "Who pays you?" Trask asked. "Var Packing," Morley said. "By the head." "Head of what?" He swallowed. "They talk like stock. The notes are folks, initials, places, $1 a mile and more for quiet. I ride, I don't rope." "Who warned you of North Road checks?" Fox asked. "A deputy at Ash Hollow. Walt." He stopped. Trask glanced at Jonah. "Noted." Jonah laid the slips in order and read the marks Millie showed him. BK, CF, CV, W. Same letters as the ledger. He pointed to a receipt dated the night our wire was cut. Trask pulled an envelope and wrote the hour. He sealed buttons, slips, forms. He had Morley read a short statement, then sign with a shaking hand. Jonah and Fox signed beneath. "You'll ride in alive," Trask said. "Keep your tongue straight." "Straight," Morley said. On the way out, they found where a horse had waited, above the bend. Tracks turned north, thin left heel again. "Someone watched," Fox said. "Or meant to," Jonah said. They moved quick with Morley between. At the ridge above Dry Laurel, Trask swung off. "Jonah, bring Lila the news," he said. "I'll take Morley to the jail and lock the evidence with Millie's seals. Sunup, porch hearing." Jonah rode in soft. Lila sat by the lamp. Buck looked up. "We got him," Jonah said. He set a sealed packet down. Buttons, receipts, code slips, blank writs, and bad ink. He admitted pay by the head and named the buyer. "Var," she said. "Var." "And the warning man?" "We heard a name. Let law catch it in daylight." She poured coffee. "You keep standing?" "I keep standing." She touched the envelope with 2 fingers and slid it to the hearth space. "Chain stays tight," she said. "Sunup," Jonah said. "Porch hearing. Trask will want your voice, only what you choose." "I'll speak," she said, "and I'll not be touched." "Not by any hand," he said. They trimmed the lamp and took their posts. The canyon had given up a mouth and a bag. Night had its say. Come morning, the law would have its own. Now, at first light, the porch filled. Sheriff Amos Trask set a table and laid out sealed envelopes. "No touching," he told the street. "Speak when called. Keep it plain." Millie stood by the telegraph slips. Doc Ruth held notes. Fox running leaned to the post. Jonah and Lila sat just inside the line. Lila wore Jonah's coat, hands open, the shotgun put away. Trask ran the chain. CV button, false writ, wire stub, bait jar, Cedar Ford receipt and copies, blank writs, bad ink, code slips, witnesses, Mercer, Running, McKenna, Sage, and the courier. Jonah gave times and routes, the hinge shim, the door catching the shove, the single shot. She fired once at the man who crossed the sill. I disabled two and held them for the law. Any hand laid on her by you? A man asked. No, Doc Ruth said. Shoulder bruise fits a door stopped by a shim. Powder fog on the sill shows near range. No marks from Mercer's hands. Further detail is private. Fox told of the thin left heel, cut wire, crow on the post. Same heel at Cedar Ford. Millie read the codes, BK, CF, CV, W, and set dates against the cuts. The calf book uses stock talk for people, she said. That's fraud. Trask called the courier. Pike Morley came with hat in both hands. I rode for pay, he said. Buttons, slips, receipts. I was warned the North Road was watched. A deputy told me. Which deputy? Walt Briggs. Heads turned. Deputy Briggs eased off the post. A drunk says my name and you call it gospel. Step up, Walt, Trask said. He held a blank writ. Looks like ours. Isn't. Ink's wrong. Clerk's hand wrong. You vouched the road clear while these moved through town. You taking calls past my desk? VAR keeps men fed, Briggs said. VAR can answer in daylight, Trask said, and held out his palm. Badge. Silence pinched the boards. Briggs unpinned his star and set it down. Trask placed it by the bad ink. Walt Briggs is relieved and will answer for obstruction and conspiracy. He'll be treated fair. He will not run. Trask turned to Lila. Your choice. Speak or keep still. Lila stood but did not cross the sill. A man pushed my door with a false paper in his shoulder, she said. I fired one round. I will not be touched by lies. No one owns me. Trask wrote one line and sealed it. He faced the street. On sworn statements and exhibits, I issue a warrant for Caleb VAR for fraud, conspiracy, unlawful detention, and purchase by the head. Marshal Hale has been wired. VAR will be taken alive. Tomorrow we convene at the Sun Mesa Courthouse. Until then, this porch is the law's front step. VAR's name slid along the boards. No cheering, only nods. Millie brought seals. Trask signed and pressed each, tight. Chain stays tight, he said. Lila sat. She looked at Jonah's hands, then at the lit crack in the doorway. You stayed, she said. I'm here. Fox told Trask, Trax will try the West Road. Thin Heel has friends. Let them try, Trask said. Daylight's watching. He slipped Briggs's star into his pocket. Hold your lamp tonight, he told Jonah. Keep the shim. If VAR shows early, the law meets him on the boards, not in your room. We'll hold the line, Jonah said. The street thinned. Jonah tucked his copies under the hearth plank. Lila checked the shim and raised the lamp a turn. Porch again tonight, she said. Porch, he said. They sat as before. 2 chairs, 1 lamp, the crack of a door. Outside, men weighed the new order. Inside, they waited for morning and a courthouse where paper would speak louder than any shout. Lamp steady. By mid-morning, the courthouse was full. Sheriff Amos Trask set wax-sealed envelopes on a table, each signed. Millie Sage stood by code slips. Doc Ruth held notes. Fox Running watched the doors. Jonah sat near Lila, close for steadiness, not for touch. Judge Alton Reeves took the bench. Plain talk, clean order, he said. Sheriff, the chain. Trask recited by hour. False writ, CV button, wire stub, bait jar, Cedar Ford receipt and Jonah's copies, blank writs and bad ink, the courier's packet and code slips. Reeves nodded and wrote each line. They brought Caleb VAR in with Mr. Baird, a town lawyer. Walt Briggs came under guard, his star already gone. Your claim, Reeves said. Baird raised a paper. A lawful apprenticeship, a clerk's error, paper, not crime. My client sought return of property. Millie tapped the margin. Hand wrong, seal wrong. Date on a Sunday the clerk buried his mother. These letters, BK, CF, CV, W, match wires for cattle weights on days when initials moved like stock. Doc Ruth said, her wounds read force, not terms. Fox laid a drawing of boot marks. Thin left heel at the fence, ridge, and Cedar Ford. Trask called Pike Morley. The courier told it plain, buttons stamped CV, receipts by the head, warning from Deputy Briggs, pay for quiet. Reeves had him sign and sealed it. Baird tried a smile. A drunk bartering his hide. Paper carries him, Reeves said. He broke wax on the packet. Receipts, code slips, blank writs, bad ink. Mr. Var, do you own this? I own herds and payrolls, Var said. A foreman keeps boxes. Your mark's on the buttons, Trask said. Your man shoved a false writ through a door and died there. Not by my hand, Var said. Lila stood without crossing the sill. He forced my door with his shoulder. I fired once. I won't be owned. Silence held. Reeves folded his hands. Caleb Var, on sworn testimony and exhibits, I bind you over for fraud, conspiracy, unlawful detention, and commerce in persons. You'll be held for the U.S. Marshal. He turned. Walt Briggs, bound for obstruction and favoring a felon. Take him. Baird started. Reeves raised a palm. Save it for trial. This is for light. Trask slid fresh warrants. Reeves signed them. For Cedar Ford, for Var's office, for ledgers and payslips, for any man in his hire. No broken heads, he said. Bring paper and tongues. Millie resealed packets and inked the hour. Jonah gave his railman's book for copying and kept his duplicates clean. Fox tipped his chin toward a dusted frock coat. U.S. Marshal Ezra Hale. Hale shook Reeves's hand. I'll hold the prisoner and see him on, he said. Sheriff, I'll ride with you. Reeves looked to Lila. Anything to add? He bought the night to make me small, she said. You gave it back its shape. Reeves bowed once. We'll keep it, he tapped the gavel. This day belongs to the law. They led Var out without chains showing, but his shoulders told the truth. Briggs looked smaller than his boots. The room emptied like church letting out. Lila's breath went long. Air had edges again. Jonah felt the old weight lift a finger. On the steps, Trask said, We ride by dusk. Keep your lamp and your shim. If his men get bold, we meet them on the boards, not in your room. We'll hold the line, Jonah said. Lila touched the top envelope. There are others. Hale said, We'll bring them in alive. Jonah offered Lila his arm, thought better, and let it fall. She walked shoulder to shoulder instead. One rule holds out here. You don't quit on your watch. They rode home at a working trot. The law's dust fading behind. Jonah's shoulder tugged where Doc stitched him. The pull under his ribs eased. Lila rode a borrowed mare, hands low and steady. She didn't look back at Sun Mesa. Some doors you close once. Dry laurel kept its shape. The lamp waited on the table. The porch chair faced the hinge. The cedar shim lay where it always did. They worked in quiet, water heating, cups stacked, wick trimmed. Wire? She asked. Millie's copying exhibits, he said. Marshal Hale has Var. Trask rides warrants. Fox is on the mule line. Briggs? Jailed. She rolled her sleeves. Fence first. Households. Okay. North of the cottonwoods, the post that once bore the crow showed a faint stain. She put her palm there. We buried one bird, she said. Let the rest stay down. He set the driver and tamped earth. She pulled fresh wire. Their shadows moved together without touching. They traded short words. Hold. Now. Staple. Back at the porch, she scrubbed boards with soda until the last gray wash ran clean. Jonah reset the hinge shim. The door opened, met its stop, and held firm. Toward evening, she cut creek flowers not too bright and set them in the chipped cup. For the room, she said. He tuned the harmonica and left it on the table. She looked at it. Play, plain. He gave her the same 6 notes as before, then a 7th that didn't try to fix anything. Her eyes blurred but didn't spill. Again, she said. He did, and stopped. They cooked skillet bread. She took the last piece and left the pan clean. After coffee, she oiled the shotgun and slid it under the bed. Porch tonight? He asked. Porch, she said, but the door can rest. You're leaking, she said, eyeing his shoulder. It'll quit. You're allowed to mend, she said, you too. After a time, she said, they changed my name in town, Clara to some, Mrs. Mercer to one. My name's Lila Hart. That's the name I wrote. Then keep it. He set the harmonica between them. Yours if you want it. I'll borrow, she said. The first sound she made was thin. The second learned where to go. By the third, she had a line. She set it back. Enough, she said. I don't want to chase the past. I just want to hear it breathe. Night rose. He lit the lamp and left the door an honest crack. He pulled the floorboard and checked the sealed packets. The CV button, the false writ, the slips and receipts, then slid them home. Tomorrow, he said. You don't have to go out if town looks hard. She shook her head. I'll walk Main. Somebody has to see a woman not for sale. You won't be alone. No, she said, but I'll be the one walking. They turned the wick down to a calm bead. He took the chair by the hinge. Habit, gentler now. She lay with the blanket loose at the shoulder, not armor anymore. Between them, the door stood easy. It didn't feel like a dam. It felt like a gate 2 people could open and close when they chose. Before sleep, she said, you didn't drag me back to life. No, you just didn't leave. That I can do. He watched the flame hold and thought how a battered place decides to stay a house. The law had bite today. Tomorrow would bring its slow wagons and paper. In between is where folks live. Keep the lamp trimmed, porch swept, fence true, line held without war. He slept on the bed in the front room, boots on the floor, rifle in the corner, and no hand on it. She slept in the back with the harmonica near her palm. Night kept its own watch and found no reason to climb the steps. Morning would come honest, and they would meet it with a fence that ran straight and a door that could say no and yes. Sun came clean over Ash Hollow and found them on the porch. The lamp was out. The wick waited for night. No riders on the ridge. No new cuts on the fence. The house remembered and held. Courthouse is done, Jonah said. Marshal Hale will haul Var south. Trask wants us to keep copies and go on with our living. That sounds like law, Lila said. Slow, but it keeps a promise. They walked Main after the stores opened, hats tipped without the old squint. Millie polished the telegraph key. Doc Ruth nodded from the boardwalk. No one touched Lila. Folks made room. They bought flour and wicks. Back at Dry Laurel they worked easy. He hoed a strip for beans. She scrubbed the stoop. Buck found a sunny patch and rolled. After dinner, Lila opened the hearth space and lifted the envelopes. The CV button, the false writ, the wire stub, code slips, and receipts. She stacked them in order and tied the string fresh. These made a road, she said. Someone else may need it. We'll keep them clean, Jonah said. He marked the date and slid it under the board. Above the hearth he tapped a small nail and hung a plain tag, to be used when shadows lie. Toward evening, Sheriff Trask rode in. Marshal's on the stage with Var. Briggs will face his part. Cedar Ford's shut. We found 3 girls today who'll see warm beds by night. Will they be believed? Lila asked. They will, Trask said. There's paper enough. He held out a clean sheet. If you want your say, write it at your speed, or not. I'll write 1 line, she said. Trask left them to the calm. Jonah set 2 chairs by the steps and raised the wick until the chimney breathed a small circle of light. Lila watched dust float in it. She took the harmonica and tried 3 notes, then found the 4th and let it rest. "You asked me for nothing," she said. "Didn't seem mine to ask." "You didn't save me," he said. "Nothing. You stayed." "I can do that," he said. She curled her fingers in the coat sleeve on her lap. "Then stay when it's quiet, not only when it's loud." "I will," he said. "Quiet's the work." They watched evening come down. A wagon clinked far off and passed. The fence line ran true. "Someday," Lila said, "someone else will come up this road with a story in pieces. You'll have a chair for them?" "I will," he said, "and paper and time." "I'll keep coffee," she said, "and the door a crack for air, not threats." "Good plan." Dark came. Jonah lit the lamp. He set the harmonica between them. "You take it," he said. "I'll borrow," she answered, "and hand it back when your hands need to remember." "That'll do." They sat until stars grew thick. He told her of rail years in 10 sentences and stopped before sorrow took the wheel. She spoke of a creek she hoped to see again. At last she stood. "I'm going to sleep with the window open. I want the night to come in honest." "It will," he said. "If it forgets how, the lamp will teach it." "Sleep well." She looked back from the door. "Good night, Jonah." "Good night, Lila." When the room was quiet, he set the cedar shim against the hinge, not as a barricade, but as a habit learning to relax. He checked the floorboard and the nail above the hearth. He looked at the road and the dark between. He did not pray. He stayed. That was the vow, and enough for a land that answers plain to men who keep their word. The lamp burned low and held its circle. Night came like a neighbor who learned to knock. And when morning leaned on the windows, both were still there. And so was the door that could say no and yes. When the dust finally settled, it wasn't the gunfire folks remembered, but the lamp that stayed lit on a lonely porch, and the simple promise that 2 broken souls chose not to walk away. Out here, healing doesn't come loud. It comes in small steps, steady as dawn. If this story stirred something in you, I'd be glad to hear your thoughts below. Maybe tell me, have you ever stayed when it would have been easier to leave?